Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. My name is Sonia Dewan and I am founder of Chief Image Consultants and also the Chief Image Consultant in the company. Today's session we'll be talking about how as an image consultant you can handle your finance and accounting like a pro and not be too dependent upon the accountant. Yes, we do have CAs in our network, in our friend circle, or relatives. You can always go and consult them. But I believe that if you have the awareness of how to handle your numbers or how to make sure that everything is going fine and track them better, it just allows you and gives you better hold on your entire business. It is much more important because most importantly, as an image consultant, for few reasons. Number one is that you are running your own show. If it was a group of 10 people, 15 people, it makes sense that you do not get into it. But as an industry, we all start single. We start as a one-woman, one-man army. And we pay a lot of attention to other things like marketing, our products, how to make better, how to make our products look better, how to make our services look better, how to market ourselves better. The one thing, because we have more of creative side to us, we actually tend to ignore the numbers at times. And I feel as a business owner, it is more important to also keep a track of this. It just gives you a better control of everything. Another thing it keeps you help you in day-to-day operation run smoothly. You're sending invoices, running through your checks, what payments are coming in, what payments are going out, budgeting for expenses as well as following up with payments, making vendor payments, making sure that you receive payments on time from your clients, avoiding deadlines, avoiding tax deadlines, which are very important. And also, when you are aware of these things, you take maximum benefit of running a business. Because there are a lot of schemes all around the world. Government actually gives special benefits to people who are business owners. And it is better that you know those benefits according to your country, laws and regulations, so that you can take maximum benefit out of it. It also allows you to create opportunities. For example, tomorrow you want to expand, you are currently providing services. Tomorrow you want to expand and also add product as a vertical or as a business expansion. If you know your numbers, if you have your budgeting sorted and planned in advance, you will not have to do last minute of budget crunching. You know exactly how much capital I can take out of my current business and allocate to the new product or the new expansion that I'm looking at. So there are a lot of benefits that once we start talking about knowing and handling your accounts and finance, and we'll discover more when we start and go ahead with the session. I will quickly take you through the agenda today. There are three things that I'll be covering. One is the ABC of finance and bookkeeping. Now, here I will not be taking you through all the jargons of the words that are there in accounting. Mostly I'll be taking you through the basics. Basics like what is the top line, what is bottom line, income and how do you manage your income well, what are the systems to put in place to take care of your account receivables. We will also go through some templates of invoicing and reports. These are the templates that I have created for my company. So I'll just be showing you or sharing my own templates with you. You can create your own template and there are a lot of templates available online, so you can pick up whatever works best for you. We will also then look at the planning and budgeting part of business. So how to set up a business from a legal point of view. I will not be taking you through the other things of vision, mission. I think Madhulika has already done a very fabulous job in her last webinar covering that part. So I'll be just talking through the legal structure and also the accounting structure. How do you set up your business? We will also look at how to do business planning and then how to budget or forecast for a full financial year. Lastly, we'll be talking about some tools to keep track of numbers. There are a lot of tools, softwares, apps available in market which you can use, which some of them are paid, some of them are free. There are also the apps which make things easier to run or to keep track of. These are not necessary accounting apps, but they actually help you run your business smoother. They all just come back and make it. The idea is to have your business run smoother. So I will be taking you through those apps as well. And lastly, I would like to end with you this. These tips are basically from my own experience and some from my mistakes that I have done over the years, and I will be sharing those towards the end. So let's start. If you have any questions, you can, in between, if you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat, just in case others are not able to hear you. They can at least read your questions. We will take those questions towards the end of the program. And also, if anyone new is joining, please keep yourself on mute so that there is no disturbance. So let's begin with ABC of bookkeeping. The first part that is there, which I want you to take through, is account receivable. This is the most crucial part of any business. Account receivable means your income, your revenue that you are generating from your normal business activities. Now, when we look and hear the word income, when we look at it at a superficial level, we feel that, okay, it's very simple. I need to provide a service and I will get paid for it. But there are a lot of nuances when it comes to actually when you go ahead and bill your client. You have to take care of all those small nuances, which you need to take care and understand that, okay, these are the things that, these are the systems. Basically, the idea is to create systems. You should have systems for all account receivables and coming through various streams that you have in your business. When I say various streams, as an image consultant and running a business, you might be having multiple streams like one-on-one consultations, or we also call them personal consultation, where we work with one client. Now, in this case, you can be running your income or your billing on an hourly basis or a lump sum basis or even a package. So these are the three different structures through which your income will come. So you need to have a proper structure for each one of them. And you need to decide in advance that you want to go through an hourly structure or a package structure or a lump sum basis. In my case, what I prefer is an hourly structure works better because one-on-one consultations are very different from one person to another. So you can't really judge that, okay, this is the amount of hours that I'll be spending with a person. But if you have your systems ready, you know exactly that this is the number of hours I'll be devoting to a particular project or a particular service, go ahead with a package or go ahead with a lump sum fee for that. Second is workshops and trainings. Again, over here, there are a lot of different things that actually affect your income. Is there a question? Okay, I'll go ahead. All right, so workshops and training. This is where a lot of things like number of hours or number of days of workshop that you'll be conducting, lot of marketing material that you'll be handing out, logistics like travel. If there is travel involved, then you have to incorporate that as well in your costing. Yes, very true.
के लिए ना मुझे किसी को काम मिल जाए एक्चुअली मैं सोचूं बबली बहुत होशियार है लेकिन
Excuse me, is there have someone on. Hi, can you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you. All right, I'll go ahead. So I was at workshops and training. Yes, a lot of different factors like number of hours, training material, and logistics comes into picture in this case. So you need to have a structure for that. That how will you be charging your client on when it comes to workshops, training, or you invited for speaking as a session in a seminar. The third account or revenue stream can be referral fee. When you have your strategic partners and you are helping each other mutually to generate business. Now in this, the revenue stream can be dependent upon the percentage. You can pre-decide a percentage of the entire business that you are bringing to your strategic partner, and on that basis you will actually bill your client. There are some other ways of conducting referral fee or collecting referral fee. That can be a lump sum fee or a fixed number that is decided when you achieve a milestone. There are also other things in account receivable. So all your out-of-pocket expenses are those that you actually run or are conducting or doing on behalf of your client. So typical example would be that when you go for or travel for workshops, your client comes back and says that, okay, I'll take care or I will cover your travel fee, but why don't you go ahead and book it yourself and I will reimburse it for you. What I suggest in this is that you should consider this income that also comes into your account also goes under the head of income or account receivable. So you should have a system, or you should always invoice your client for these out-of-pocket expenses at actual. So whatever you have incurred as a fee for that travel expense or any other out-of-pocket expense, you should send an invoice, not an email with an attachment of your ticket or the receipt. You should have a proper bill sent to your client at an actual without any taxes on it, and then ask the client to reimburse it. We'll have a look at few of invoices and reports now. So I'll be taking you through one of them. This is something that I have for my internal purpose for my company, so you can have a look at it. This will just give you an idea of what are the things that are important to put in an invoice, and you can then change the template, make it look around a little different, but just an idea of what things are important that you should add into your invoices. So first we'll have a look at invoice. Now the invoice should always have your client and also the full address, that where your client is or billing address.
I think you want
everyone please. Alright. So client full name and address is something that you should always have in your invoices. This is something that, and whenever you are doing or conducting or providing a service to your clients, make sure that you take their full billing address. Ask them what is their preferred billing address. Is it home or is it office? You should have their mobile number. You should have their email ID, because then it makes it easier to track down your client. Because if you are just going through your email conversation, you can't track down a client later on through just their email. So having full name, address, phone number, even alternate number is always a good practice to follow. You should create a structure or a template for your invoice number. If you will see in my case, I have VIC.1718M10. Now when I when you look at BIC is basically a short form of my company, the Bosch Image Consultants. You can have a short form of your company, or you can just start with a number. It's not necessary that you need to have your company's short form over there. That's the template I am comfortable with. That's why I keep it over there. 1718 is basically the financial year, because in India, the financial year starts from April of, means if we take example of this year, financial year will start from 2017 and will end in 2018 March. So that's why it's 1718. If your year in your country, if the financial year is also your calendar year, you can just write 2017. But writing the year is very important because it helps you track down the invoice and also when you have done or provided that service. Then after 1718, you will see M10. Now M stands here for Mumbai. So when I have different operations for different cities, so if I have my operation in Bangalore, all the clients that I'm billing in Bangalore, I write B in front of it. So that's how I run it. You can choose not to write M or the city name. For me, it just makes it easier to track down that this was Mumbai client, this was Bangalore client, this was Delhi client. Just an easier way to manage everything. So you can create your own structure, own way of how your invoice number should look like, and it should have a proper serial, and you should follow that serial number always. And don't change once you have fixed your template for invoice number, don't change that format. Stick to it. Even in terms of date, which is right above, have one format of date. So please decide that you want MMDD, YYY, or how you want it. And you should just stick to that template then. Now, coming down, you will see these two heads, PAN and service tax. In India, you have service tax registration. Anyone who's providing service tax a service is supposed to register for service tax. So you can now this will be replaced with GST in next 2 days. So you can put your GST number in your invoices. Same ways in any other country, whatever are your legal documents or registration that you are supposed to register as a company, you should always mention that in your invoices. It is very important to mention because many companies, especially corporates and multinationals, prefer to have your taxation numbers and all tax related numbers written so that it gives you more value, more credibility as a vendor, and it makes the process for accounts department to process your invoices much more faster. So when you have all this information on your invoice, it just makes it easier for the accounts department to process your invoice as soon as possible. So make sure that you have all your registration numbers mentioned. Then moving on to the particulars. So in this case, I have taken a template where it is for personal color analysis, and here I'm charging my client by hours. So your amount will be number of hours into the fee that you decide on an hourly basis to charge your client. So you can have a template where you mention your number of hours. Always after a session, sign off the number of hours, have a template ready or a form ready. Maybe you can add this in the feedback form. After my personal consultation session, after each session, I ask my client to fill up a feedback form sheet. I have a small at the end, I have total number of hours and a blank space in front of it where I actually write down the number of hours I've spent with my client, and I ask them to sign off that sheet. It's very important if you're charging by hours to get your hours signed off by the client so that there are no misunderstandings, or for you also to trace back that how many hours you have spent on a client. It becomes easier. Towards the end, I will take you through a tool which is an app which makes it easier to track down the time. So I'll take you through that. Now, once you have put in the amount of service Then comes your taxes. So in India, as I said, there is service tax, which has three breakups to it. So you have to make sure that you provide the breakup of taxes also, just to create more transparency and make it easier for your vendor, for your client to process your invoices. And then you need to add the total invoice amount, total service amount, and total tax amount together and give a total of your invoice. So this is how your invoicing should be. You should also put a few terms and conditions, whatever you feel are the most crucial, not a very big list. If you feel that you need to give a huge list of terms and conditions, you can make a 2-pager invoice document. The first page can be just the invoice, and the second page can have all your terms and conditions. So whatever you decide as a company policy, like for example, if the payment is due immediately, then you write it immediate. You can also mention if some people have a tendency of delaying payments. In that case, you can always mention that there will be an interest charge if you want to. That is completely up to your own personal preference, that you want to charge an interest to your client or not. But I suggest that if you see a tendency of someone, have that terms and condition or policy in your contract when you sign off a client, that there will be an interest if there are delays in payment. And later on, if you see that trend coming in a client, make sure that you add that terms and condition into the invoice, that there will be an interest after, say, 90 days or 100 days of delay in payment. You can also mention your mode of payment, so wire transfer or check, even a PayPal account, whatever is your preferred mode of payment, you should mention it over here. Now, if you will see further, I have mentioned the bank's name, address of the bank, the AICI code, account name and account number. You should always have this information in your invoice so that there are no excuses, there are no delays. Then information, it makes it much more easier and simpler for your client to just have everything in one document. So they are not following up with you that please send me your account number, please send me your AICI code. Just make sure that you have it ready in your template all the time so that your client is not facing an issue. And it also ensures that you get your payments on time. You should always have an authorized signatory, so in your case it will be you, and you should sign off your invoices and also stamp it so that it looks more official and it makes it a little bit more legal. You should also mention your company email address and the contact number. This can, because most of the invoices I have just casually mentioned over here, just to show you that you need to mention your address, your office address or your preferred mailing address into your invoices. Mostly we print out all our invoices on our letterhead, and letterheads usually have our addresses. So you can avoid this into the template. You can just have printed on the letterhead, which also has your address in it. But make sure that you have an address. Address is sort of credibility to your invoice, and it also makes it easier for the client again if they want to send or make a payment through check. They can immediately find where to send the check to, which address, and they will share it with you. So this was the template for our. Let's look at lump sum basis. So if you decide on a package or a lump sum, what I usually do is when there is a package, I take 50% at once, and then I take 50% on your completion of the services. So I have mentioned towards 50% advance of bridal styling package. I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Once again, so towards 50% advance of bridal styling package, you can mention the amount that is there. The only and rest everything is same. The service tax amount and total invoice amount. So the template remains the same. The only difference is here there are no hours, so you're not charging anyone by the hours. I suggest you use Excel sheet or any other software to manage your invoices. don't make your invoices on Word documents. I have seen a lot of people doing it, and what happens at the end is that you are manually entering the numbers in total, whereas in Excel, you can always put formulas like this, and it can just give you a total. Whereas if you use Word doc, you enter your numbers manually, and you tend to miss out sometimes the numbers, and it just makes your invoice gets returned or it gets rejected, and then you have to do the whole process again. So just to make it easier and simpler, use Excel. If you're not comfortable, use one of the softwares that I'll be talking about later. You can use those, but don't make your invoices on a Word document. Now, next thing, these are few invoice templates that I have shown you. You can have other templates also. The template remains the same, it's just the particulars that changes. So for your referral fee or for your out-of-pocket expense, you will just change the particular to out-of-pocket expense. In out-of-pocket expense, there will be no taxes. You have to charge your client on actuals. So you will just mention out-of-pocket expense, whatever is the amount that you have incurred on your client's behalf. Now I have invoices which I have shown you, and then the next thing is reports. Now for your accounts receivable, it's very important that you have a system to track down all your invoices and have a report sort of a thing that where you can track down what invoices have gone out, what are the invoices that have been rejected, which are the ones that are pending, and which are the ones that you have received a partial payment only, where you have received paid the taxes, where do you have to make the payment that you have received and make a secondary payment to another consultant. To make it simpler for you, I'll just show you another template. This is a template that I use for, this is a very simple version. I use a little bit complicated, but this is a little simpler one that can make it easier to understand. So I'll start with date of invoice. So whatever is the date mentioned in your invoices, the date of billing. So if there is 24th of June mentioned on your invoice, you mention the same date over here. You write. Now, if you see the second column, there is something called project number. Project number is basically if you have a retainer client that keeps coming back to you. Retainer clients are those who work on month-on-month basis. There is a fixed fee, they pay you on monthly basis, or project can be if you have a package. So you have providing a package to a client, and the payment is to be done in multiple tranches. That's where project comes into the picture. It's project number you can mention on your invoice also. It just makes it easier for you to track down the invoice. Then you mention your client name, what are the invoice details, why you have charged, and what is the particulars of your invoices, invoice number. Then you can see the next column is gross fee. Gross fee is basically the service fee that you charged to your client. Then comes the taxes, and then total invoice amount. Now, in front of that, you see that there is status, and I have put in what is the status of all the invoices. I make sure that I mention the invoices that I have not received or the payment I have not received and show it as pending. And also mention what is the amount received, because sometimes even your client deducts taxes at their end and make you a payment after deducting taxes. So make sure that you write down what is the amount that you have received. And if you see the last column, this is very important. This says breakup. Now, what I mean by breakup is that it shows the amount that will come to you, or if there is a vendor payment that is involved. So, in my first case, 50% advance towards some package. Now, if I have taken a service of fashion designer or say example a hairstylist into this fee that I will receive will have a partial payment to be made to my hairstylist that has worked with me on that particular project. So then I have to mention over here that there is a fee and there is a vendor payment. And you can also go further and write down what is your fee out of this amount received and what will be your vendor fee. And then that will give you more clarity of what is at the end coming to you. If you see here, it is complete. In the second row, you will see that everything is just fee. So whatever is coming is being received by you. The third option is out of pocket expense. So this is an expense that you have incurred on behalf of your client, and you can always write it off in your books as an expense. So this is how your account receivables should be. You should have proper structures for all other revenue streams that you have. You should have templates and you should have reports sorted. The next important part of the accounting, the basics, is expenses, cost of operating your business. Everything from salaries to office rent to your vendor payments to your travel to your consultation fee, that if you hire someone as a consultant to work with you, if you have multiple training programs and you hire another trainer to take care of those trainings, as well as the taxes that you pay goes into expenses. Make sure that you make all the payments through check or avoid making any or online methods. Avoid making any payments through cash because cash payments are very tough to track down, and also it makes it difficult for you to actually take those expenses and show it in your books. So what I suggest is avoid to do that, and if you have to do it, there is no choice. Like sometimes you have to make very minute payments of $500 or $1,000 or something like that. This is INR. So if you have to make a small payment, asking your vendor or your stationery guy to do an online payment or a check payment will be a little tough. So in that case, make a template of receipt, and you can always write down the particulars that you have bought the stationery and make sure that you ask your vendor to sign it off, and then you can make a cash payment. This way you will be able to track down your expenses, and you can write off these expenses against in your books against your income. So make all the payments and all the expenses are at one place, and they are not put across in different areas, and you're not able to track down. So make sure that you do it through check or online and through your business account. Don't do it through your personal account and avoid cash, just to make it simpler. The last thing is your net income. Net income is also known as bottom line. So sometimes a lot of accountants use these terms of top line and bottom line. The top line is your account receivable, just because on income statement it comes and its position is at the top of the income statement. That's why it's called top line. The net income lies at the bottom. That's why it is called bottom line. It's very simply net income is your account receivable minus your expenses, and whatever you're left with minus account receivable minus expenses is basically your profit. That's the capital, or that's the cash in hand that you have. So having a better track of your account receivable and also a better track of your expenses give you a clearer picture of how much cash in hand you have. So that's why I said making sure that you make all expenses payment through check or through online method is very important. So this was your basics of accounting. Move on to the next module, that is business planning and budgeting. Now, first thing, when you have to set up your business is to determine a legal structure. And legal structure has a lot of impact on your finances and your accounting. There in India, there are 5 ways you can structure your company. Worldwide also, more or less, these are same. There might be some changes in one of the 2 companies. Like, I'm not sure if one-person company is something that is really there across the world, but in India, they do provide an option to create a one-person company. So the 4 or 5 formats that are there to structure your company. One is proprietorship. Proprietorship can be started with 1 person, 2 people. It proprietorship is by one person, partnership is by two people. In proprietorship, you don't need any formal registration, but the bad side of proprietorship is that there is unlimited liability upon you. When I say unlimited liability, basically your company is directly linked to your personal wealth. So I would not suggest a proprietorship structure to anyone who has a lot of personal wealth, maybe through family, maybe through if you have got it from your in your bill or something like that. If you own something which is personal and not part of your business, tomorrow if you have a liability to pay someone a huge amount and your business is unable to make a payment of that amount, it becomes your personal liability to make sure that you pay that amount to your vendors. So then you will have to dip into your personal wealth and make that payment. So if you're dealing regularly with large multinational and corporates and at very huge amounts, and if there are proper contracts and the contract terms and conditions are very risky, make sure that you don't have a proprietorship structure or even a partnership structure. In partnership, I feel it is more riskier because your partner's liability is also your liability. So tomorrow, if your partner does something that is not in favor of your business or incurs a huge expense, that becomes your personal liability also. So proprietorship and partnerships are easy to maintain. The bright side is that they are easy to maintain. There is no formal registration required. The amount of taxation and legal process that you have to go through is very limited, and not many formalities to be done. But the other side is that in both the options, you have unlimited liability. The rest three option, limited liability, partnership, is basically partnership, but here you are registered with government bodies, and also your liability is very limited. It is only restricted to your share capital, the amount you have invested into the company, and that's about it. That goes for your private limited company and even one-person company. Now, the other side of these three, they are make it simple, the liability is lesser, but the formalities of running these three structures are higher. So your cost goes up immediately if you have a limited liability partnership or a private limited or a one-person company. So you have to follow a lot of rules, like you have to conduct AGM, you need to have your secretary processes done, and you need to have a lot of filings done on a very regular basis. In fact, your tax also goes on a higher side. In India, it's immediately 30% if you are in any of these three structures, whereas in proprietorship and partnership, it goes according to the structure of the slab that is applicable to an individual. So make sure that you think through this when you're deciding upon your legal structure. Consult not one, two, three different people, lawyers, and even an accountant, and take everyone's point of view when you're setting this up. The next part, once you are done determining your legal structure, the next part that you have to be sure of is your registration, location, and savings, and also other things like templates and policies. First thing, open a current bank account. Don't use your personal account or your savings account to do business transactions. A, it doesn't give credibility. Two, it doesn't look professional. And three, it actually makes sure that you bifurcate your business expenses and your business payments and your savings and personal accounts separately. You don't mix them up, because the minute you start mixing them up, you have no control on what is going where, how much expenses you are incurring, because you see it as a collective income and not separate income. So make sure that you have a separate account and you treat your business account as a separate entity. There are four or five different ways that you can open a current account. In India, you can provide any of these four documents, which is service tax, sales tax, GST. Now it will be GST. The professional tax document. You can simply just take a certificate of practice to your field. can ask him to on his letterhead. This is the CA who is certified through AICI. So go to them and ask them to give you a certificate that you have been conducting your practice since this date and time and under the name of this company. And you can always submit this paper. You can also show your shop and establishment license. This is something that is there again in India. When you have a location, you need to have, or your office location, you need to have shop and establishment registration done to conduct your operation out of that office. Next step should be choose your location. So you should choose a location for a formal operation. So you can take an office space or a co-working space or a shared space. If you're working out of home, that's also okay. Location for your business correspondence and registration. This is again very important. You need to understand that there should be only one place or a fixed permanent address which doesn't change, which you should mention for all your correspondence and you should use for all your registration. Because if you do your registration on a temporary address, you will have to change the address every time you move out of that location, and that will actually increase your overall cost. So make sure that you have one location which is your permanent address for all registration and correspondence. The next thing that you need to set up is to set up the fee structures, payment methods, templates and policies. So you need to decide on a retainer basis how you want to charge your clients, on a project basis how you want to charge your client, and on hourly what will be your fee. How will you charge it? What will be the mode of payment you want to do it? After every session you want to take advance payment, you want to collect your payment at the end of services. I don't recommend that one, but you should always collect advance payment or immediately after the service on the day of when you are providing the service. What are the methods of accepting the payment? You can use checks, you can use online, PayPal account, you can set up Paytm now in India. You can also have a swipe machine. Once you have a current account, you can apply for a swipe machine with your bank and you can have it set up in your office. It is very easy because most of the time when people come in for one single consultation and they say that, okay, I'm not carrying my checkbook, or I go back home and do the online payments. Everybody nowadays carry their cards. Keeping a swipe machine is very convenient. You can immediately swipe the card on the spot and you can have your payment with you. Last option, which I don't prefer and don't suggest everyone, is cash. Ideally don't accept it, but if you have no choice, then yes. But you should not accept it because when you are working only in cash, it's very difficult to know how much you're earning and keeping a track of it. So you don't really get to know the real value or real income of your company if you're only dealing in cash. The next is you need to set up templates, your proposal, invoices, MOUs, memorandum of understanding, your non-disclosure agreements, contracts, your company policies, your terms and conditions. Sit down and make these templates and keep them ready, because sometimes most of the clients for training and other purpose clients want to do everything now basis. Make sure that, and when you don't have these templates ready, you sometimes go ahead with the program without having a proper contract, and sometimes it doesn't go very well, if you don't have your contracts in place. So make sure you have templates and you can adjust and change it according to the time that you are getting, and it makes things very easy and simpler. And plus, your terms and conditions make sure that you are in a safe zone, so you receive your payments, and there is no way that anyone can actually defer the payments. So that's about setting up your business. The next thing is that you should write down a complete business plan, and you should ideally start with an executive summary. An executive summary is just a one-page document where you write down everything, right from who you are as a company, who are the people, what kind of services, and that you will be providing, and just highlight entire point. What usually people do, and most of the entrepreneurs who do write business plans, is They write everything else first, all the other 7 components, and then once they are ready with all 7 components, then they write summary because it's a snapshot of all other 7 components. The next part you need to write down is your company overview. This is where you mention who, what, when, and where, and all the other questions. Basically, a very small, short document which actually can make someone understand that who you are. So while you're writing this down, imagine that the person who's reading this document doesn't know anything about who you are or anything about your company, and then start writing this document. This is the shortest document, so it should be a one small paragraph about who, what, when, where, and how. Then comes your products and services. Now, products and services again are very important. Here, you mention everything about all your services, like your training, your one-on-one consultations, all the other services that you provide. If you're providing hairstyling, if you're providing products, if you're doing fashion designing, any other practice that you have, you should mention it in detail. So when I say in detail, what will be the logistics, how will the program work out, what the client will get, how long will be the duration, how much you will be charging for it, what will be the support that you'll be providing, what will be the after service support that you'll be providing. Everything should be there. So when someone reads it, they know what they are getting. Market and sales plan is something I'll not get into much because Madhulika has done a fabulous job in explaining this in detail in her last webinar. So you can find that on AICI New Delhi chapter YouTube, and she has explained these 2 areas very much in depth. So you can write down your target market in your business plan and also marketing and sales plan. Next is milestone and matrix, and this is personally, I believe, is the most crucial part of your business planning, and especially as an image consultant, because as in the beginning when I said that we all start as a one woman or one man army, and we don't have much in terms of having a lot of people with us, and also nobody to govern us or see how we are performing. It is us who need to actually take care of our own business. So milestone, when you set milestones for yourself, it actually motivates you towards achieving those goals and finally achieving your growth that you have imagined for your business. Management team, this is where you write down your profile, and you should write down one page of profile when you're explaining your management team. If you have other members in your team, make sure you have a one-page profile about your consultants and other team members as well. And the crucial part which we are discussing today is financial plan. So how does the financial plan or a budget look like? So this is a very simple, the most simplest form of budgeting or a budget plan or a financial plan for a year. I have only taken June to March because we are in June and also because of the lack of space. How your budget looks like, it's all on the basis of forecasting. So in the first row, you need to write down all the years. So if it is a calendar year, you write Jan to December. If you are from India, then you will be writing April to March. In coming years, it will change. There's talks that even India's financial year will change to calendar year. Once that happens, then you can change it according to that. The first thing that comes into your financial planning is your income. In income, you need to show all sorts of income through your business practice. So one-on-one training, every month, how much you will be expecting, how much business you will be expecting to conduct on each of these revenue streams. These numbers, you will have to write these numbers down on the basis of your history. So open your previous books, last year's books, see how you performed on a monthly basis, and looking at the trends that are going to happen. Also, Madhulika talked about a client management or a lead management system. That will also give you an insight of how much money you can expect to make. Then once you have all your income written down, you make a total of it. Then you mention all the expenses that you're going to incur in your business. So your office rent, your salaries, office supplies, travel that you have to make, your utilities, mobile bills, internet bills, any consultant that you're going to hire, any marketing fee, any legal fee, vendor payments if you have to make any, all will come down in your expenses. And then the last is basically total of income minus total of expense, and what you are left with, that will give you an idea of your cash in hand, or the capital that you're going to have at the end of each month. This process or this practice allows you to actually know how much cash in hand I have, and also how much money I can reinvest into my business. So if you have something in your mind, if you if you want to buy something for your company, you can go ahead and do it if you have this budgeting done properly. So you can see how much money you will be having, and you can plan it accordingly. If you want to go for AICI conference, you can see how you can take out the money out of your business plan, and actually you can also write off your conference fees and your expenses into your business expense. That is also something that you're doing to make your business better. So it's a business expense, so you can write it off in your expenses. And once you have your budgets ready, you can see how you can plan it better. So it's not done last minute, and you have a better control of your entire budget. So that's about budgeting and planning. Now, quickly, I'll take you through tools to keep a track of your numbers. What are the tools available in the market? The most and the easy, widely available and acceptable one is MS Excel, Microsoft Excel. The Excel was designed to support accounting functions, so it has preset templates which will allow you to create invoices, budgeting, creating financial statements, balance sheet, profit and loss statements, income statements, all sales reports, all expenses reports. Everything are preset over there. When you buy a paid version of Microsoft Excel, you can actually download all the templates that are there with Excel, and you can customize them a little bit also according to your company. So you can make it very simple looking, you can make it very complex also, however you want to like it to look like. The next thing that I like about MS Excel is that all the calculations, even the what if analysis, you can do and run down in MS. So in Excel, it gives you option to see that if I have only one-on-one consultation, how much money I'll be making throughout the year. So you can run those filters, you can do calculations, percentage, everything is very easier. So you are not manually sitting and doing calculations. The system does it for you. Another thing is that you can import this data from different sources and different databases from different sources to Excel. So even if you have a lead management system, if you have a time tracking system, you can download all those different software to Excel. And any popular accounting software can be very well integrated with Excel. So if you're using any software online, you can download reports and they can be reported easily into Excel format, and then you can do your own calculations. A couple of apps or software that I personally like for bookkeeping and marketing. My favorite one is FreshBooks. What the best part about FreshBooks is it allows you to customize or scale the whole accounting process for your company as per your needs. If you want to keep it simple, it allows you to keep it simple. If you want to go in scale, it just allows you to scale it up also and have two complex calculations. It takes care of all basic things like invoices and reports, processing, vendor management, time tracking, text management. It even keeps your backup of all the data. So FreshBooks is just wonderful if you are having an awareness of accounting and bookkeeping, and you want to do a lot of analysis and a lot of in-depth get into in-depth in bookkeeping and accounting. So FreshBooks is good for that. The second option, that if you are a beginner in bookkeeping and accounting, or you don't want to delve deeper into it, QuickBooks is very good. QuickBooks allow you to keep it very simple. Basically, it is how QuickBooks work is you have to fill up a lot of forms, and the software is so intuitive that it does all the accounting at the back end by its own. But the only thing that I feel that it lacks is that when you have to go deeper, or if you have to scale up, you have to take an external help of a certified QuickBooks TA to do a lot of different things like tax management and other payments and a lot of other scalable things in bookkeeping. But for beginners and to keep it easy and simple, QuickBooks is the recommended one. Zoho Books is also another one. Zoho Books is actually the same platform that we are using for webinar today. So if you, after the webinar, you can go back and explore the website. On the left-hand corner on the top, you will see the finance section. In finance, you will find all the options of bookkeeping and everything over there, accounting, taxes, invoicing, everything. A good feature about Zoho Books is that it provides you a lot of integration. They have almost 20-30 apps. I don't know. They have a lot of apps like webinars are there. Then you can do your marketing. You can take care of your client management system. Zoho provides a lot of options. So once you are on Zoho Books, you can actually integrate your client management, lead management system, your marketing system into your accounting, and it just works. You have one platform doing everything together. Wave is, I don't recommend Wave that much. The only thing about Wave is that all the other platforms are free. All the other platforms are paid platforms, and Wave is a free platform. But it is very simple. It sometimes gets so basic that even a slightly complex calculation, then Wave will not be able to comprehend or support you. Xero is really nice. The only USP of Xero is that it allows a very smooth integration of Mac. So this is the only software, if you are using Mac, this is the only software that will give you a very easy integration through your Mac UI, whereas others give you a little bit of lag or a little bit of bugs in between. So these are 4-5 different apps which are there in the market. Everyone has its own pros and cons. What I suggest is that you go through a trial and take a free 1-month trial. They all provide 1-month free trial. Explore it yourself and see what works best for you. The other apps that can make it easier, Expensify is basically an app which can help you track down your expenses on a very on-the-go basis. So you can actually take a picture of your receipt. So when you are traveling, you don't have to collect all the receipts, all the bills in your wallet or in your bag. What you can do is you can take a picture of the receipt and it will scan it itself and put it in the category that it has to go. So if it's a travel receipt or a cab receipt, it will go into travel category. If it's a food receipt, it will go in dining or entertainment. It is very smart that way. Expensify is a paid app. There are other free apps like Expense Manager, but they don't have that many features as Expensify. Paytm in India is really good. You can actually transfer up to 20,000 without getting yourself registered. If you can register with your KYC document, you can transfer or receive payment of up to 1 lakh through Paytm. Dropbox allows you to have all your files, your sales reports, your invoices at one place on the cloud. So on the go, you can just share it with any client. If you have every file, sometimes your clients tend to miss out the invoices, they can't find the email. So you don't have to always have your access to your database. You can just go to Dropbox, send those invoices, send them an acknowledgement, send a draft of MOU. Just keep every document on Dropbox. It becomes easier to access it. MailChimp reduces your marketing costs by providing a free email solution up to a limit. After a limit, Mail just actually asks you to they charge you for it. Google Drive is also an alternate for Dropbox, so you can use that. Skype is wonderful free tool for web conferencing. You can actually have at the max 25 people, so you can save the cost of and everyone has Skype, so you don't have to ask them to download another setup. You can use Skype if it is a little less formal situation. For formal webinars, for formal or audio conferences or presentation, use a proper audio conferencing or video conferencing system. My Tax India lets you pay the taxes through your phone, through the app itself, and also reminds you of the upcoming deadline. So if there is a GST tax that has to be paid and there's a deadline to it, if you have to file your return, My Tax India does that for you. File Manager actually puts everything, all your different folders in your laptop, lying in different corners and different subfolders, and put them together. It is a paid app, but it is very good. It actually makes your entire laptop much more organized. Time Catcher is the app that I was talking about. It actually helps you or gives you a report of how much time you have spent with a client. So you can start this app and it will exactly give you the amount of time. You can also through the app give a printout of the time sheet, and you can get it signed by your client as well. If you don't want to take a printout, you can download the timesheet and you can share it over email with your client as well. So that also becomes in a way a kind of sign off to your time that you have spent with your client. I'll just take quickly 1 to 2 more minutes to take you through few tips that I have actually that have come to experience and through mistakes. So first of all is review your expenses. You need to make sure that you are always, income is yes more important, but expenses, if you don't keep a track of it, they can go ballistic. And again, avoid cash transactions. Keep a track that you are making most of the transactions through online check. I'm using a lot of Paytm for all my cash payments now, so you can do that. Make financial projections. As I said, it helps you, it allows you to plan your future better. You want to expand, you'll know exactly how much money you can take out from the capital or the cash in hand that you have. Don't get slack on invoicing. This is something I've learned from a very bad experience. If you delay on invoicing, basically you are delaying the whole process. I actually forgot to read that there was a 60 days of a time period in one of my clients. They have a 60-day time period after which they process your invoices. So I got very busy with other work and I never invoiced the client. After 30-35 days, I realized that I have to invoice my client, and then it took my entire billing and the money to come into, pushed it to 100 days or 105 days. So for 4 months, I wasn't paid for the project that I had completed. And then it was a lot of chaos. A few things, sort of that amount changed in between that, so I have to redo the entire invoicing. I received my payment after 6 months, and it's not a good situation to be in. Keep a separate business bank account. The minute you start mixing your saving and your business, things can go out of hand, and you just keep or lose the track of it. So if you are a kind of a person who wants to keep track of everything, I would always suggest to have a separate business bank account. Make sure to pay yourself first, even if you're running a proprietorship and you don't have to give a salary to anyone or to yourself. Write a check for yourself or make an online payment to your saving account every month. That is kind of a salary, and make sure that you don't dip into your business account for any other personal expenses. You use that amount. Start with 20 or 30% of whatever is your cash in hand, and then or 10% of the entire revenue that you are getting, and transfer it to yourself. Remain frugal. Basically, you have to make sure that you are taking care of everything. You are tip of and in sync with whatever is going with your expenses. Don't overspend on things, and in terms of business expenses, when things can be done in cheaper cost, make sure that you do it in that way. Don't let legal fees get out of your hands. Sometimes you hire lawyers, make sure that you work out a deal that it actually helps you and not become so huge that you're not able to pay it off. Mostly for simple things, you can just use your DIY legal documents. There are a lot of sample documents available online. You can just use those for simple things like sending a notice or a payment notice to vendor or client. Consider renting instead of buying. Initially, when you're starting out, don't invest right away in big expenses like equipment or laptop or anything, any huge expense. Make sure that you actually rent it out, so your maintenance cost is not your problem. If anything happens to it, is also something that the rental agency will fix for you. So consider renting. Take control of your marketing and public relations, then hiring someone to do it. Now there are a lot of ways that you can do it yourself. Facebook, if you get a better understanding of Facebook and social media and other areas, you can just maintain your own marketing and public relation yourself. Don't spend prematurely. So basically, if you have an amount, if you have cash in hand and don't initially, without having a proper setup, go big on very big business, boards, billboards, or your marketing material, or your visiting cards, or very fancy things. Because before even starting, you'll be running out of your capital, and that's not a good situation to be in. So don't spend too prematurely. Let your income flow in first. Plan it out in your budget in a monthly basis that this month I will invest in office, this month I'll get my furniture done, this month I will pay my legal fees, or something like that. Make a plan and then spend. Alright, so that's all from my end. And we can go ahead and take some questions now. So anyone have any questions? If you're on mute, you need to unmute yourself. So please unmute, and then you can ask questions if you have any. Neha, do we have any questions?
I think it's a great session. Thank you, Sonia. Very well conducted, very well presented. And if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and ask the questions. If not, then we would be ending the session here. So I think, Sonia, there are no questions coming in. So we can end the session. Thank you very much for presenting today's session, and thank you all for attending it, taking in time, and hopefully if we have a great recorded session, we will be sharing that too shortly after the things are taken care of. We'll try to upload it on YouTube, and let's see. I'll keep you all posted about it. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.
You can end the session now. Thank you. Bye.